I pressed my palm against my stomach, feeling the gentle flutter of movement beneath my shirt. My baby was restless tonight, almost as if sensing my anxiety. The cold December wind bit at my cheeks as I stood outside the towering glass entrance of the Grand Lexington Hotel, watching people in expensive coats breeze past me like I didn't exist. The security guard blocking my path crossed his arms, his expression carved from stone. He looked at me like I was something unpleasant. He'd stepped in, his nose wrinkling slightly as if my omega scent offended him. I hated that look. I'd seen it too many times in the past 3 months. "Please, I just need a room for one night," I said, trying to keep my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. "I can pay. I have money." It wasn't entirely true. I had exactly $247 left to my name. But desperation made liars of us all. The guard's lip curled in something between pity and disgust. "Hotel policy, sir. No pregnant omegas without an alpha companion. It's for your own safety." The way he said safety made it clear he meant something else entirely. Liability, inconvenience, unwanted complications. My throat tightened. I'd arrived in New York City just 2 days ago with nothing but a battered suitcase and the clothes on my back, running from a past that still haunted my nightmares. The alpha who'd promised me forever had disappeared the moment he learned about the baby, leaving me with nothing but empty words and an even emptier bank account. "But I don't have," I started, but he cut me off with a raised hand. "Policy is policy. Please leave before we're forced to call additional security." His tone held finality, the kind that left no room for argument or mercy. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of these people who already saw me as less than human. I grabbed the handle of my worn suitcase and turned away from the glittering lobby, from the warmth and safety I desperately needed. The sidewalk felt colder than before as I walked, each step heavier than the last. My pregnancy had sapped so much of my energy and I'd barely eaten today, saving what little money I had for emergencies. This qualified as an emergency, but apparently my emergency didn't matter to anyone. Where would I go? Every affordable place I'd called was fully booked and the shelters were overflowing. The thought of spending the night on the streets in this weather, with my baby depending on me for warmth and safety, made panic claw at my chest. Suddenly tires squealed against asphalt. A sleek black SUV jerked to a stop directly in front of me, so close I stumbled backward, nearly losing my balance. My heart hammered as the driver's door swung open and a man emerged. He was tall, intimidatingly so, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. His gray eyes found mine immediately, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe. But it wasn't his appearance that made my omega instincts flare to life. It was his scent. Pine and winter frost mixed with something darker, earthier. Pure alpha dominance rolled off him in waves, making every nerve in my body stand at attention. My hands instinctively moved to protect my stomach, a barrier between this stranger and my vulnerable child. "What happened here?" His voice was deep, commanding, the kind that expected immediate answers. He wasn't looking at me anymore but at the guard who denied me entry. The security guard's entire demeanor changed, his spine snapping straight as his face drained of color. "Mr. Martin, sir, this omega was attempting to check in without my permission. You denied someone entry to my hotel?" The alpha's voice rose, cutting through the night air like a blade. The few people lingering near the entrance fell silent, all eyes turning toward the confrontation. I realized with dawning horror that everyone seemed to know this man. Everyone except me. My legs trembled. Who was he? And why did he keep glancing at me with that intense, searching expression as if he was trying to solve a puzzle he'd only just discovered? "You come inside with me." He extended his hand toward me and I noticed how steady it was, how confident. His voice had softened marginally, but authority still threaded through every word. I stared at his outstretched hand, then at his face. His eyes held no judgment, no disgust, only an unexpected concern that made no sense. He didn't know me. He had no reason to care. I don't understand," I whispered. "You don't have to. Just trust me for the next 5 minutes." Something in his tone, despite its commanding edge, felt genuine. Maybe I was being foolish. Maybe I was making a mistake that would me everything. But standing in the freezing December night with nowhere to go and a baby counting on me, What choice did I really have? I shifted my suitcase to my other hand and took a hesitant step forward. His fingers closed around mine, warm and solid, and a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold ran through me. As he led me toward the entrance, the guard practically pressed himself against the wall to let us pass, his face a mask of barely contained terror. The lobby interior hit me like a physical force. Warmth enveloped my frozen skin, and the sheer opulence made me acutely aware of my shabby appearance. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across white marble floors. Well-dressed guests moved through the space with practiced ease, their designer clothes and confident postures screaming wealth and privilege. I felt every eye on me, the pregnant Omega being escorted by the powerful Alpha. I could see the speculation in their gazes, the questions forming behind polite masks. My face burned with embarrassment and I wanted nothing other than to disappear. The Alpha, Mr. Martin, the guard had called him, kept his hand on my lower back, guiding me through the lobby with purposeful strides. His touch was light but possessive, a claim that confused and frightened me in equal measure. "Get me the manager. Now," he addressed a startled receptionist who fumbled with her phone, her hands shaking slightly. Within seconds, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit rushed over, his smile too bright, too desperate. "Mr. Martin, sir, how can I assist you this evening? Tell me about our policy regarding pregnant Omegas." The Alpha's voice was deceptively calm, but I could feel the tension radiating from his body. The manager's smile faltered. "Sir, we have safety protocols in place to ensure safety or discrimination. Which is it?" Each word fell like a hammer strike. The manager's face went pale, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I stood frozen, watching this surreal scene unfold. This stranger was defending me, fighting for me, and I couldn't comprehend why. Nobody had ever stood up for me like this. Nobody had ever cared enough to raise their voice on my behalf. And as I watched him destroy a man's career in my defense, a terrible thought occurred to me. I might have just traded one dangerous situation for another. "I don't need you to do this," I said, finally finding my voice. It came out weaker than I intended, barely audible above the growing commotion in the lobby. "Please. You don't have—" Jax Martin turned to face me fully, and the intensity in his gray eyes made my words die in my throat. "Do you have somewhere else to go tonight?" The question hung between us, heavy with implication. We both knew the answer. If I'd had options, I wouldn't have been begging for entry at a 5-star hotel I clearly couldn't afford in the first place. "That's what I thought." He returned his attention to the manager, whose professional composure was rapidly deteriorating. "You're terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out and collect your credentials." "Jenkins." He snapped his fingers, and a tall man in a dark suit materialized from somewhere near the concierge desk. "Take over manager duties temporarily, and I want every staff member who had any part in creating or enforcing this discriminatory policy identified and brought to my office tomorrow morning." The manager made one last desperate plea. "Sir, my family depends on this job. Please, if you just let me explain." "Your family should have depended on you making ethical choices." Jax's words were ice cold. Final. "Remove him." 2 security officers appeared and led the protesting manager away. The lobby had fallen into shocked silence, every guest and employee frozen in place, watching the drama unfold. I wanted to sink through the marble floor and disappear. Jax pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. "Attention all guests." His voice boomed through the intercom system, echoing off the high ceilings. "The Grand Lexington is closing immediately for our TMF policy review. All guests must vacate within 2 hours. Full refunds plus compensation for inconvenience will be processed within 24 hours. All staff report to your department heads for further instructions." The silence shattered into chaos. Guests erupted into indignant protests, demanding explanations, threatening lawsuits. Staff members scattered like startled birds, phones pressed to ears, panic etched across their faces. Someone was crying at the front desk. A couple in expensive evening wear stormed toward the exit, shouting about lawyers and reputation. I stood in the center of the maelstrom, invisible despite being the cause of it all. Guilt twisted in my stomach, sharp and nauseating. All these people displaced because of me. Jobs potentially lost. Lives disrupted. "This is insane," I breathed. "You're closing your entire hotel, For me? Someone you don't even know. Jax's hand found the small of my back again. That same possessive touch that sent confusing signals through my nervous system. This isn't just about you. This is about the values my establishment represents. If a staff thinks discrimination is acceptable, then every guest here is unsafe. The policy ends tonight. He steered me toward a private elevator tucked away behind the main desk, using a keycard to access it. The doors slid open, revealing a sleek interior with mirrors and soft lighting. As we stepped inside, the chaos of the lobby faded, replaced by an almost oppressive silence. I caught sight of my reflection in the mirrored walls and wanted to cry. My hair was a mess, dark circles shadowed my eyes, and my coat looked 3 sizes too big, hanging off my frame like a child playing dress-up. Next to Jax's polished perfection, I looked like something dragged in from the streets, which technically I was. The elevator began its smooth ascent and I felt the pressure change in my ears. Jax remained silent, his posture relaxed but alert, like a predator at rest. His scent filled the small space, overwhelming my heightened omega senses. My body responded against my will, a flush creeping up my neck, my breathing becoming shallow. Pregnancy had made everything more intense. Every smell, every sensation, every instinctual reaction. And this alpha was triggering responses I'd tried so hard to suppress since discovering I was carrying a child alone. "You can relax," Jax said quietly, not looking at me. "I'm not going to hurt you." How did he know I was tense? Could he sense my fear, my confusion, my inappropriate physical reaction to his proximity? The thought made my embarrassment deepen. "Why are you helping me?" The question escaped before I could stop it. "You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. It's too much." The elevator chimed softly, announcing our arrival. The doors opened onto a private hallway, elegant and understated, leading to a single door at the far end. Jax stepped out first, then turned to wait for me. "Because when I saw you standing outside my hotel, pregnant and alone, being turned away because of who you are," he paused, as if struggling to find the right words. "Something in me couldn't accept it. My alpha wouldn't let me walk away. I've never experienced anything like it." His honesty shocked me into silence. Alphas didn't admit to vulnerability, didn't confess to instinctual compulsions. They couldn't control. They were supposed to be logical, dominant, above such base reactions. He unlocked the door and gestured for me to enter first. I stepped into the penthouse and felt my breath catch. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the glittering Manhattan skyline. The city spread out like a field of stars. The space was enormous. Living area, dining area, kitchen visible through an open archway. Everything was decorated in sophisticated neutrals with touches of deep blue and silver. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was everything I'd never be able to afford in 10 lifetimes. "This is your home," I said stupidly, setting my battered suitcase down on the pristine hardwood floor where it looked criminally out of place. "One of them. I keep this penthouse for when I need to stay on site." Jax shrugged off his coat, revealing a perfectly tailored shirt that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. "Make yourself comfortable. Kitchen is fully stocked. Bedroom through that door. Bathroom attached. Everything you need should be here, but if something's missing, tell me." I couldn't process the generosity, the casual way he was offering me everything. There had to be a catch. There was always a catch. "What do you want from me?" I asked bluntly, my hand moving protectively to my stomach. Nobody does this without expecting something in return. Jax's expression shifted, something flickering in those gray eyes. Hurt, maybe, or understanding. He moved closer but stopped several feet away, respecting my personal space even as his scent enveloped me. "I want you safe. That's all. No strings, no expectations, no ulterior motives." His voice dropped lower, almost hypnotic. "I know you have no reason to trust me. I know this situation is bizarre and overwhelming. But I promise you, Jorge, you are safe here." I froze. "How do you know my name?" "Your suitcase tag. I saw it in the lobby." He nodded toward my bag, where a faded luggage tag displayed my name in smudged ink. Of course, simple observation, not some sinister foreknowledge. I was being paranoid, but could anyone blame me? My last experience with a powerful alpha had ended in abandonment and heartbreak. "Get some rest," Jax said, moving toward the door. I have business to handle downstairs. Catastrophic hotel closures require significant management. A wry smile touched his lips. Lock the door behind me if it makes you feel better. I'll check on you in a few hours. He left before I could respond, the door clicking softly shut behind him. I stood alone in the massive penthouse, surrounded by luxury I didn't deserve, saved by a man I didn't understand. My baby kicked, a firm little thump against my ribs, reminding me that whatever confusion I felt, whatever danger I might be in, I'd made the only choice I could. I was warm. I was safe. For tonight, that would have to be enough. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows I'd forgotten to cover, the New York skyline sharp and glittering in the morning lights. For a confused moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then it all came rushing back. The hotel, the rejection, the mysterious alpha who'd turned his entire business upside down for a stranger. The bedroom I'd claimed was larger than my previous entire apartment, decorated in soothing grays and whites with touches of navy blue. The bed was absurdly comfortable, the sheets Egyptian cotton with a thread count I couldn't begin to guess. I'd slept better than I had in months, my body finally releasing tension I'd been carrying since leaving my old life behind. My phone showed 8:30 in the morning. I'd slept nearly 10 hours straight, a luxury my anxious mind rarely permitted. My stomach growled, reminding me I hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon's gas station sandwich. I ventured out of the bedroom cautiously, half expecting the penthouse to be empty. Instead, I found Jax in the kitchen, surprisingly domestic in dark jeans and a fitted black sweater, his hair slightly disheveled as if he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. The scent of coffee and something savory filled the air. "You're awake." He looked up from whatever he was cooking and something in his expression softened when he saw me. "Good timing. Breakfast is almost ready." "You cook?" The question came out more incredulous than I intended. "I'm full of surprises." He plated what turned out to be a vegetable omelet with toast and fresh fruit, setting it on the counter along with a glass of orange juice. "Sit. Eat. You need proper nutrition." I shouldn't have been hungry after sleeping so long, but the smell made my mouth water. I slid onto one of the bar stools and picked up a fork, acutely aware of Jax watching me take the first bite. It was delicious. Perfectly seasoned, fluffy, exactly what my body needed. I tried to eat slowly, maintained some dignity, but hunger won out and I demolished the plate in minutes. "There's more if you want it," Jax offered, and I noticed he hadn't made anything for himself. He'd been cooking just for me. "I'm fine, thank you." I set down my fork, suddenly shy under his steady gaze. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." He poured himself coffee but continued standing, leaning against the counter across from me. "How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in a long time." I hesitated, then added, "Thank you for everything. This is more than I could have hoped for. It's the bare minimum of what you deserve." His tone held conviction that made me uncomfortable. How could he make such statements about someone he'd known for less than 12 hours? "You don't know me," I pointed out. "I could be anyone. A criminal, a con artist, someone dangerous. Are you?" "No, but then we don't have a problem." He took a sip of his coffee, those gray eyes never leaving my face. "Tell me about yourself, Jorge. How did you end up at my hotel in the middle of December with nowhere to go?" The direct question caught me off guard. I'd been expecting small talk, polite distance, not genuine interest in my pathetic story. "That's complicated." I hedged. "I have time. Hotel's still closed, remember? I cleared my entire schedule for today." He gestured to the living area. "Let's sit somewhere more comfortable. You shouldn't be on that stool too long in your condition." I allowed him to guide me to the plush sofa, grateful for the softer seating. My back had been aching lately, another pregnancy complaint to add to the growing list. Jax settled into the armchair across from me, maintaining respectful distance while still being close enough for conversation. "I moved here from Boston 3 days ago." I began slowly, carefully editing as I spoke. I needed a fresh start, somewhere nobody knew me. But I didn't plan very well. My money ran out faster than expected, and finding work while visibly pregnant is, I gestured vaguely at my stomach, challenging. "The baby's father?" Jax's jaw tightened slightly as he asked. "He's not in the picture?" "No." He made it very clear he wanted nothing to do with me or the baby. The words still hurt, even weeks later. I thought he was different. I thought we had something real. But when I told him about the pregnancy, he said I was trying to trap him, ruin his life. He gave me money for an abortion and told me to disappear. I couldn't read Jax's expression, but his knuckles whitened around his coffee mug. Did he hurt you? Not physically, just emotionally. I wrapped my arms around my middle. A protective gesture I couldn't seem to stop. I kept the money but used it to leave instead. Started over. Except I'm not very good at starting over, apparently. You're braver than you think, Jax said quietly. Leaving an alpha who abandoned you, choosing to raise your child alone, that takes incredible strength. His words touched something deep inside me. A part that had felt only shame and failure since discovering my pregnancy. Maybe I wasn't just a victim. Maybe there was courage in my survival. What about you? I asked, deflecting attention from my own story. Why does a billionaire hotel owner live alone in his penthouse and personally cook breakfast for random omegas? You're not random. The words came out with unexpected intensity. Jax set down his coffee and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I know this sounds impossible, but from the moment I saw you, something clicked into place. Like I'd been waiting for you without knowing it. My heart hammered against my ribs. That's not how it works. You can't just claim someone. I'm not claiming you, he interrupted gently. I'm being honest about what I'm feeling. You asked why I helped you. That's why. Not pity. Not charity. Connection. We just met yesterday. My voice came out breathless, despite my attempt at logic. You don't connect with someone overnight. That's not real. Then what do you call this? He gestured between us. The fact that I couldn't sleep last night thinking about whether you were comfortable. The fact that I've checked on you 4 times through the bedroom door to make sure you were breathing. The fact that my alpha is currently screaming at me to protect you, claim you, never let you leave. I stood abruptly, needing distance from his overwhelming presence and impossible words. This is too much. You're talking about instincts and connections, but I can't afford to believe in fairy tales anymore. The last alpha who promised me everything left me with nothing. I'm not him. Jax rose as well, but didn't approach me. I understand your fear. I understand your hesitation. But Jorge, I'm asking you to consider the possibility that not all alphas are the same. That maybe, against all logic and probability, we found each other for a reason. What reason could there possibly be? I demanded, frustration and confusion making my voice sharp. I'm pregnant with another man's child. I'm broke. I have nothing to offer you except problems and complications. Why would you want any of this? Because none of that matters to my alpha, he said simply. The child is innocent and will need a father. Your financial situation is temporary and fixable. The complications are just obstacles to overcome. What is you? The strength I see in you. The way you protect your baby even while drowning. The kindness that makes you feel guilty about my hotel closing when you did nothing wrong. Tears burned behind my eyes. I wanted to believe him so desperately it terrified me. Believing had gotten me hurt before. Trusting had left me abandoned and alone. I need time, I whispered. I need to think. Take all the time you need. Jax's voice was gentle now. Understanding. Stay here as long as you want. No pressure, no expectations. Just safety and space to figure things out. He moved toward the door, giving me the solitude I'd requested, but paused with his hand on the doorknob. For what it's worth, Jorge, I've never felt this way before. And I don't make promises lightly. If you let me, I'll prove that not all alphas are cowards who run when things get difficult. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. 3 days had passed since I'd moved into the penthouse, and I was beginning to understand the rhythm of life with Jax Martin. He left early each morning to handle hotel business, but always returned by evening, arms laden with groceries or takeout from restaurants I'd only read about in magazines. We'd established a careful dance around each other, polite, considerate, but maintaining invisible boundaries neither of us dared cross. Tonight was different. I'd spent the afternoon organizing my meager belongings, trying to make the guest bedroom feel less like a luxury hotel room and more like temporary home. The physical activity had exhausted me, and I'd fallen asleep on the couch while waiting for Jax to return. I woke to the sound of the penthouse door opening, disoriented and groggy. Jax entered carrying paper bags that smelled heavenly, his tie loosened and top button undone. He looked tired, but smiled when he saw me struggling to sit up. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. He set the bags on the kitchen counter. Brought Chinese. Hope you're hungry. I was starving actually. The baby seemed to demand food constantly these days. My appetite insatiable despite my attempts at restraint. You didn't have to keep buying me dinner. I wanted to. He began unpacking containers. The domestic scene strangely intimate. Besides, I hate eating alone. You're doing me a favor. We settled at the dining table, and for a while only the sound of chopsticks and quiet conversation filled the space. Jax asked about my day, genuinely interested in the mundane details of my afternoon nap and the book I'd been reading. It felt normal, comfortable, dangerous. Can I ask you something personal? Jax set down his chopsticks, his gray eyes meeting mine with unexpected vulnerability. My heart rate picked up. Depends on the question. The baby's father. What was his name? I hadn't expected that. The food in my mouth suddenly tasted like ash, but I forced myself to swallow. Nico. His name was Nico. Tell me about him. It wasn't a demand, just a gentle invitation. I took a slow breath, organizing thoughts I'd tried desperately to suppress. We met 2 years ago at a community event. He was charming, attentive, everything I thought an alpha should be. I was young and stupid enough to believe his promises. You weren't stupid. Jax's tone held conviction. Trusting someone isn't stupidity, it's courage. It felt stupid when he threw me out. The bitterness crept into my voice despite my efforts. When I told him about the pregnancy, he looked at me like I'd ruined his life. Said his family would never accept an omega mate, especially not one carrying what he called an accident. He gave me cash for an abortion and told me to handle it quietly. Jax's jaw clenched, anger flickering in his eyes. He deserves worse than I'm imagining right now. I took his money, I admitted, shame coloring my words. Not for what he wanted. I used it to leave Boston, to start over somewhere he'd never find me. I know that makes me smart. That makes you smart. Jax reached across the table, his hand covering mine. The contact sent electricity through my skin. You protected yourself and your baby. That's not theft. That's survival. His touch lingered warm and solid, and I didn't pull away. We sat like that for a moment, connected across the table, something unspoken building between us. Jorge, he said quietly, I need to be honest with you about something. My stomach dropped. Here it was. The catch, the expectation, the price for his generosity. What is it? Every instinct I have is screaming at me to claim you as mine. He spoke carefully, as if each word required consideration. I know it's fast. I know it makes no sense. But since the moment I saw you outside my hotel, something shifted inside me. My alpha recognizes you in a way I can't explain or ignore. I pulled my hand back, standing abruptly from the table. You can't just say things like that. You don't know me. This baby isn't yours. I'm not some charity case you can collect. I never said you were. He stood too but kept his distance. I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm trying to be honest about what I'm feeling. You deserve honesty, not games. What you're feeling is pity mixed with alpha instincts. I countered, wrapping my arms around my middle. In a few weeks, the novelty will wear off and you'll realize how complicated this situation really is. You think I don't already know it's complicated? His voice rose slightly before he reined it in. I've spent 3 days thinking about nothing but you. Worrying about whether you're comfortable, if you're eating enough, if you feel safe here. That's not pity. That's something else entirely. It's gratitude, I insisted, needing to believe it. You saved me from the streets. Of course you feel responsible. But responsibility isn't the same as whatever you think you're feeling. Jax ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. Fine. Let's say it is just responsibility. Does that change the fact that I want you here? That I want to take care of you and your baby? That the thought of you leaving makes me physically ill? His raw honesty stripped away my defenses. I wanted to argue, to maintain the walls I built so carefully, but exhaustion and emotion were catching up with me. Tears burned behind my eyes, and I hated myself for the weakness. I'm scared, I whispered. I'm terrified of trusting again, of believing in promises that might disappear. Nico destroyed my ability to have faith in Alpha, then let me earn it back. Jax moved closer, slowly, giving me time to retreat if I needed. Not today, not tomorrow, but gradually. Let me prove that not all alphas are like him. That some of us keep our promises. And if you change your mind? The question came out broken, revealing the depth of my fear. If you wake up one day and decide this is too much trouble, I won't. The certainty in his voice should have been impossible after such a short time. But I understand why you can't believe that yet. So I'll wait. I'll be patient. However all it takes. The baby chose that moment to kick, a solid thump against my palm. Jax's eyes dropped to where my hand rested on my stomach, longing written across his features. Can I? He gestured toward my belly, hesitant in a way I'd never seen him before. I should have said no, should have maintained boundaries, kept distance between us. Instead, I found myself nodding, watching as he closed the space between us and gently placed his large hand beside mine. The baby kicked again, right against his palm, and Jax's entire face transformed. Wonder, joy, something profound and possessive all mixed together in an expression that made my chest ache. Hello there, he murmured to my stomach, his voice soft and reverent. I'm Jax. I'm going to take care of you and your papa if you'll let me. Tears spilled down my cheeks and I couldn't stop them. This moment felt too real, too perfect, too dangerous for my fragile heart. Jax looked up, concern flooding his features when he saw me crying. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. No, I interrupted. It's not that. It's just, no one's ever talked to my baby before. Miko never even acknowledged the pregnancy was real. And you're here talking to them like they matter. They do matter. Jax's hand remained on my stomach, protective and sure. More than you know. A week slipped by in a blur of routine and uncertainty. The Grand Lexington had reopened with new policies that made national news, inclusive practices that other hotels were already beginning to adopt. Jax had transformed industry standards overnight, all because of one pregnant Omega rejected at his door. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd settled into an uncomfortable comfort in the penthouse. Jax continued his pattern of morning departures and evening returns, always bringing something thoughtful: prenatal vitamins, books I'd mentioned wanting to read, soft blankets when he noticed me shivering. He never pushed for more than I offered, never demanded answers to questions I wasn't ready to address. But tension built between us with each passing day. Unspoken feelings hovered in the air like humidity before a storm, thick and electric. I caught him watching me sometimes with an intensity that made breathing difficult. And I knew, absolutely knew, he caught me doing the same. Tonight he'd invited me to the balcony for dinner. The December air was cold but not unbearable, and the city sprawled before us like a blanket of stars fallen to earth. Jax had ordered from an Italian restaurant, the food rich and satisfying in a way that made my pregnancy cravings sing with joy. I have to ask, I said, twirling pasta around my fork. Why aren't you dating anyone? You're wealthy, successful, apparently kind, despite all evidence suggesting rich people shouldn't be. Where's your significant other? Jax smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. I've dated. Nothing serious, nothing that lasted. My father always said I was too particular, waiting for something that might not exist. What were you waiting for? Recognition. He set down his wineglass, his gaze finding mine. That moment when you look at someone and just know they're meant to be in your life. I thought it was romantic nonsense until I saw you outside my hotel. My fork clattered against my plate. Please don't make this into something it's not. What am I making it into? He leaned forward, elbows on the small table between us. I'm being truthful about my feelings. Is that so terrible? Yes. When those feelings are based on nothing. I stood, meeting distance from his overwhelming presence. We barely know each other. You've seen me at my absolute worst. Homeless, desperate, pregnant with another man's child. That's not the foundation for whatever you think this is. You're right that I don't know everything about you. Jax stood too, moving to the balcony railing beside me. I don't know your favorite color or whether you prefer coffee or tea in the morning. I don't know what makes you laugh or what nightmares wake you at 3 in the morning. But I know the important things. Like what? I challenged, arms crossed defensively. I know you're strong enough to leave an alpha who mistreated you. I know you love your baby enough to sacrifice everything for them. I know you feel guilty about my hotel closing even though none of it was your fault. I know you try to take up as little space as possible because you've been made to feel like you don't deserve to exist. His voice dropped lower, more intimate. And I know that when you smile, really smile, not that polite thing you do when you're uncomfortable, It makes me want to do anything necessary to see it again. The accuracy of his observations stole my breath. He'd been watching me more carefully than I'd realized, cataloging details I thought I'd hidden. That doesn't mean we belong together, I argued weakly. No, he agreed. But it means we could. If you'd let yourself consider the possibility. The city lights blurred as tears filled my eyes. I'm terrified of being wrong about you. Of believing this is real and waking up abandoned again. I can't survive that a second time, Jax. I barely survived it the first time. Then, let me prove I'm different. He turned to face me fully, his gray eyes reflecting the lights around us. I'm not asking you to trust me completely right now. I'm asking you to give me opportunities to earn that trust. Small chances to show you I mean what I say. Like what? Let me take you to your next doctor's appointment. Let me be there when you see your baby on the ultrasound. The request was simple but weighted with meaning. Let me start building a foundation of actions, not just words. I wanted to refuse. Wanted to maintain the emotional distance that kept me safe. But the hopeful expression on his face, the genuine desire to be part of this journey, weakened my resolve. One appointment, I conceded. But it doesn't mean anything except I'll be there, he interrupted gently. One step at a time, Jorge. That's all I'm asking for. The baby kicked, as if agreeing with his proposal. I placed my hand over the movement, feeling the flutter of life that depended entirely on my decisions. One step at a time, I echoed quietly. Jax's smile was brilliant, unguarded in a way I'd never seen before. Thank you. We stood together on the balcony, the night air wrapping around us, and for the first time since Nico's betrayal, I allowed myself to wonder if maybe, just maybe, not all endings had to be tragic. The next morning I woke to find Jax already gone and a note on the kitchen counter. Doctor's appointment scheduled for tomorrow at 10. I'll be back tonight with something special. Rest well. Something special. The words made me nervous and curious in equal measure. What did Jax Martin consider special? I spent the day alternating between anxiety and anticipation. When evening came, I found myself watching the door, waiting for his return with an eagerness I tried to deny. He arrived at 7, carrying a large shopping bag and wearing an expression that mixed excitement with uncertainty. Close your eyes. What? Why? Just trust me. Please. He set down the bag and waited. Against my better judgment, I closed my eyes. I heard rustling, movement, then his voice close to my ear. Oh, on the coffee table sat a collection of items that made my throat tighten with emotion. Baby books, guides on pregnancy, infant care, parenting, soft toys in neutral colors, a hand-knitted blanket in soft yellow, and a framed ultrasound picture, empty but waiting. I know we haven't been to the appointment yet, Jax said softly, but I wanted you to know I'm serious about this. About being here for both of you. These aren't just purchases. They're promises. I couldn't speak, couldn't process the thoughtfulness behind each item. The care that had gone into selecting things that would matter. No one had ever done anything like this for me. Jorge. Worry colored his tone. If this is too much, I kissed him. The kiss lasted only seconds before I pulled back, shocked by my own impulsiveness. Jax stood frozen, his eyes wide with surprise, his lips slightly parted where mine had just been. I'm sorry. I stammered, heat flooding my face. I shouldn't have, that was inappropriate. Don't apologize. His voice came out rough, strained. Please don't apologize for that. We stared at each other, the air between us charged with new tension. The kiss had changed something fundamental, crossed a line we couldn't uncross. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I worried it might bruise. I should go to bed, I said, but my feet wouldn't move. Jorge. The way he said my name held a question, a plea, a promise. Stay. Talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. I'm thinking I'm an idiot for kissing you. I'm thinking this is moving too fast and I should run while I still can. I'm thinking... I paused, forcing honesty. I'm thinking I don't want to run anymore. Something fierce and protective flashed across Jax's features. He stepped closer, giving me time to retreat, but I held my ground. When he cupped my face in his hands, his touch was gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. I need to know this is what you want, he said carefully. Not gratitude, not obligation. You. Choosing this. Choosing me. I don't know if I'm ready for everything that choosing you means, I admitted, but I'm ready to try. That's all I can offer right now. That's enough. He pressed his forehead against mine, his breath warm on my skin. More than enough. The next morning, we drove to the doctor's appointment in comfortable silence. Jax held my hand the entire way, his thumb tracing absent patterns on my skin. When we entered the clinic, the receptionist's eyes widened at the sight of the notorious billionaire in her waiting room. But Jax ignored the attention, focused entirely on me. Nervous? He asked as we sat in the examination room, waiting for the doctor. Terrified, I confessed. Every appointment I wonder if something will be wrong. If I've done something to hurt the baby. You're doing everything right. He squeezed my hand reassuringly. Look at you. You're strong, healthy, taking your vitamins. This baby is lucky to have you. Dr. Rivera entered with a warm smile, introducing herself to Jax and explaining the ultrasound procedure. As the cold gel touched my stomach and the wand began moving, the room filled with the rapid whoosh-whoosh of a heartbeat. There's your baby, Dr. Rivera said, pointing to the screen where a tiny form wiggled and moved. Everything looks perfect, measuring right on track. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process the reality of that little life swimming across the monitor. Fingers, toes, a profile that looked impossibly human, despite the grainy image. My baby, real and alive and depending on me. That's incredible, Jax whispered, his eyes glued to the screen with an expression of pure wonder. Tears tracked down his cheeks unashamedly. Absolutely incredible. Dr. Rivera smiled at us both. Would you like to know the sex? I looked at Jax, seeing my own emotions reflected in his face. What do you think? Surprise me, he said. I don't care if it's a boy or girl. I just want them healthy. The appointment ended with printed ultrasound pictures and reassurance that everything was progressing beautifully. As we walked to the car, Jax clutched the photos like they were made of gold. Can I keep one of these? He asked almost shyly. They're yours too, I said, the words feeling right despite their implications. He stopped walking, turning to face me in the parking lot. Say that again. The pictures are yours too, I repeated, understanding what he was really asking. You were right. The baby might not share your biology, but if you want to be their father, I'd like that. Jax pulled me into his arms, careful of my stomach, his embrace warm and secure. I love you, he murmured into my hair. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated, but I love you, both of you. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Unknown number. Dread pooled in my stomach as I answered. Jorge? Nico's voice sent ice through my veins. We need to talk. Jax's expression hardened immediately, his protective instincts flaring. He took the phone from my shaking hands. This is Jax Martin, Jorge's partner. Whatever you have to say, you can say to me. Partner? Nico laughed, the sound cruel and familiar. You think you can just claim what's mine? That baby is my blood. I have legal rights. You forfeited those rights when you abandoned Jorge while pregnant, Jax said coldly. You'll never come near them again. If you attempt contact, you'll face legal consequences. Naomi, my attorney, has already filed preliminary paperwork. Try me, and you'll lose everything. He ended the call and immediately pulled me close again. Breathe. You're safe. He can't hurt you. What if he tries to take the baby? Panic clawed at my chest. What if he has legal grounds? He doesn't. Naomi assured me of that. Abandonment. No financial support, no attempted contact until now. The courts will side with you. Jax tilted my face up to meet his eyes. But Jorge, I need to know. Do you want this? Want us? Because if you say yes, I'm adopting this baby, making them legally mine, protecting both of you with everything I have. The magnitude of what he was offering struck me breathless. Not just financial support or temporary shelter, but forever. Family, security, love. Yes, I whispered. I want this. I want. Jax kissed me then, deep and claiming and tender all at once. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his hand on my stomach where the baby kicked enthusiastically. Did you feel that? I asked, laughing through tears. I think they approve. Smart kid. Jax smiled, that brilliant, unguarded expression I was beginning to crave. Takes after their pop. We stood in that parking lot, holding each other while our baby moved between us. And I finally understood what home felt like. Not a place, but a person. Not security, but love freely given without expectation of return. Thank you, Jax said quietly, for giving me this chance. for trusting me. I promise I'll never make you regret it." And looking into his eyes, feeling the warmth of his embrace and the life growing inside me, I believed him. This was my new beginning. Our new beginning. And for the first time in months, the future looked bright instead of terrifying.